freeze mage.
Yeah.
And in fact, we are into that match now, and you can see here that the freeze mage is opening against the zoo.
Yeah, this is a very good matchup for freeze mage. Unless Zoo gets a completely explosive start, it's very difficult for the Zoo player to actually go through all the removal. But there is no Frost Nova right now in Xixo's hand, so it's going to be a bit problematic for him.
Yeah, he doesn't have very many options. I mean, the Loot Hoarder came into the hand there, I think as a result of the other Loot Hoarder dying, but he is just going to use the mana to throw up the Ice Block. But there's also not a huge amount of options in the... Well, the Harvest Golem does come out now, but there weren't a huge amount of options in that Zoo hand. It's not a particularly aggressive Zoo board.
No, exactly. There's no... He didn't get the Undertaker start, you know, the one thing you want most. And now I feel like the positioning is a bit weird for the Void Terror to come out, because she will eat 2 minions for sure.
Was just about to mention that. Surely you put the Nerubian Egg at the end of the board.
Yeah, just to make sure that you don't run... He might have been trying to set up Defenders of Argus, possibly, but now realizing his hand is a bit on the slow part, he has to go very aggressively here. Just eating up a Voidwalker. He doesn't need the taunt anyway, you know, against a mage deck.
Yeah, I guess against the freeze mage there isn't much in the way of minions coming down on the board. It's kind of minions versus spells at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's kind of like right now you would think that Xixo's hand is very slow as far as stalling potential goes, but he does have 2 Blizzards back to back, and that gives him just enough turns to stop the aggression coming from Alchemix's part.
That could well be. And looking at the deck of Xixo, it has the Pyroblast on the top as well, which is kind of being rotated back into the freeze mage.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of anti-heal botting going on right now. Like everybody's running hyper. Like the addition of anti-heal bot, I think, was one of the things that people foresaw as, you know, it's a playable card, it's a decent card, but the extent to which it's been used is blowing a lot of people's minds. It's actually much more widely used than people initially expected, and that forces people to run a little bit more burn in decks that have limited amount of, you know, damage output.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, if he can burn out this the Warlock deck, make it run out of options, and he has an anti-heal bot, but there isn't any healing. As we mentioned, there aren't any GVG cards in this deck at all. In fact,
No, almost none.
The only card that isn't from the basic set in this deck is the Mad Scientist. Everything else is original set cards. So this is a very old school feeling freeze mage.
Yeah,
from
it is
Xixo.
using Loatheb just to prevent, you know, spell from wiping the boards. You've got Undertaker, Haunted Creeper, so you've got like a pretty decent roster, but most of it comes from Naxxramas. It's a really Naxxramas heavy deck, really. And now Xixo did coin out the Blizzard, the first Blizzard, obviously.
Yep.
But now the second one won't feel nearly as good, because Harvest Golem will pop. If Haunted Creeper comes down, she'll pop as well, which will leave minions on the board, and he does not have a Flame Strike at the moment.
And he can't kill that Void Terror, which is sitting there at 4/5 right now. That's and you know, the Direwolf is going to come down as well.
Yeah, but there's a lot of outs still left. I mean, Iceberg can buy time for Frost Nova. It can buy time for the Flame Strike. So there is still, you know, there's a lot of hope still. And he'll get to turn 9 very likely for the Alex Rel to play.
Direwolf Alpha came down there at the end of the last turn, onto 2 minions which couldn't attack. That felt maybe like an overcommit from the Zoo.
He will probably never get to use it anyway, knowing that the longer the game drags on, the more likely the mage is going to wipe the board, so keeping the minion is not necessarily the most relevant part at this point. He just wants to try to get in for as much damage as possible to force the first ice block to pop, so that the mage is forced to have the second one as an answer, otherwise he's going to be dying. So now he's going to be considering dropping the Doomguard right now just to go in, because he's seen 2 Blizzards. The only other freeze that Xixo might be running is a potential Cone of Cold, or something like a Frost Nova Doomslayer play.
You can see the Hellfire in the Zoo deck as well, another kind of old school addition to Alchemist deck. He's going to pretend the Abusive Sergeant, and still have enough mana for the Doomguard if he wants to use it.
Yep, probably will have to, actually, trying to hope that nothing comes down, because now Flame Strike does not wipe the board. The Doomguard will live on and just go in for the lethal afterwards. That is unfortunate for Alchemix here. Doomslayer and Frost Nova coming down, going to give just enough
in this
time
deck whatsoever.
Yep. It's interesting to think that if he got like a Clockwork Gnome with the reversing switch, the Doomslayer, sorry, would just die right away. Oh, the top deck Iron Beak Owl. Oh, this is excruciating. Now you have to. Oh wow, I don't I don't even know.
That's really awkward. It's gonna
Well, it's for Alchemixt, it's a really good position, but I mean, Xixo cannot possibly feel good about this because he doesn't have Flame Strike, he does not have his Cone of Cold, Frost Nova, he's already just used one, and Alexstrasza is 2 turns away, so he needs to try to live after this point.
the only thing he has is Ice Barrier, and I'm not even sure how much that keeps him alive.
It helps a little bit on the off chance that he top decks something as a follow-up to finally Alexstrasza himself, but it's going to be a very, very awkward sequence of turns. If Arcane Intellect hits very big targets, such as another Doomsayer and another Frost Nova, then things could go very well, but at the moment there's a lot of pressure coming from Alchemist. That Iron Beak Owl is going to be very clutch in this specific. And as you can see, he can't play the second Doom Guard because he's going to have 7 minions on board. And he's thinking about silencing his own to pop the first block, since he's got a second Doom Guard. And he does exactly that, actually.
Yep.
Wow.
That's what he's going to do. He's going to pop the Ice Block. Rather than silencing the Doom Guard, he's actually going to let the Doom Guard go off and use the Owl to silence the Frost off the Doom Guard, pop the Ice Block, and basically sacrificing his entire board there just to pop the Ice Block.
Yeah, he was probably expecting another Flame Strike as a follow-up. Which probably explains why he didn't care about his board, expecting it to die anyway. But as we can see here, Xixo is probably going to be very happy to just pop down the Ice Barrier, possibly a Mad Scientist if he finds one.
There's the Flame Strike. It wouldn't have come down this turn because he wouldn't have had enough mana, but and that probably could have well made the difference for the zoo. But you know, Alchemist made a gamble on the Flame Strike being in the hand, and Xixo it has paid off for him.
So, do you have to play Nerubian Egg and Power Overwhelm it right now, or do you just keep it as is to protect from the Doomguard play? Like, do you want to get that 4/4 out right now?
I feel like you're just kind of going all in at this point and just playing everything you've got.
You just hope that you find the follow-ups that you need, because he doesn't run Soulfires nor Dark Bombs.
No.
And, you know, Black Knight is no help here.
I guess he's kind of thinking maybe that was the second Ice Block as well. Looking at the Doomguard and thinking about popping that again, but he does pop the Ice Barrier, and there's a Fireball in hand there as well for Xixo. So both Fireballs in hand, as well as the Pyroblast and the Frostbolt. So much damage.
To ask you, do you prefer Alexstrasza yourself here, or dropping Flame Strike and Frostbolt to wipe the board clean? Because you can still Alexstrasza as a follow-up. The odds of him top decking 8 damage from a empty board is pretty slim.
I definitely feel like that's the optimal play. I think when your opponent has gone so obviously all in, because that Power Overwhelming play, that's just a complete pushing your chips into the middle of the table because you've got nothing in hand. And there comes the Undertaker. That's
a little late. Oh, this is a good card here for him. Going to stop the Alexstrasza from going face, which otherwise might have killed him.
Exactly.
In this specific circumstance, though.
And stops the Nerubian dying to a Flame Strike now. Again, Xixo might be thinking maybe he should have gone for the Flame Strike play there, because now he can't kill it.
He can still do very well with a Flame Strike Frostbolt. Like the play still works, and he's even got a bit of pressure on the board. And I guess playing Alexstrasza first allows him to reach for lethal on the off chance that Alchemist does not find any of his taunts. Which in this case he found Defend of Argus, but he'd already seen 2 Voidwalkers. So he must have thought, I can maybe reach for lethal if he doesn't find exactly what he needs.
Yep, and he is able to clear the board here using the Alexstrasza. Doesn't even need to use the Frostbolt.
Yep, and now Alchemist is going to be digging for
There's that second Defender of Argus. And a Harvest Golem doesn't help him.
No, is that lethal? I believe it is. You Frostbolt the goal. Oh no, you can't. He's actually 1 damage off. Never mind. 1 off lethal to kill the Harvest Golem. Because double Fireball is 12. So he was pretty close there, but not quite.
Yeah, he had 15 damage in hand there.
Actually, wait. Am I lying?
He has 9 damage. No, he has 7. He has.
Yeah, he was pretty close.
Damage. Yeah.
All right. So that will slow him down. So it's interesting that, despite the fact that he could have silenced the Doomslayer, Alchemist went for the silence on Doomguard to pop the Ice Block, which might have been what lost the game.
Well, this is going to be game number 1, obviously. The Pyroblast in hand as well as the damage on board. I think that's what's called a super lethal for Xixo. So Xixo 1-0 up, and now we're going to see the Shaman deck
Yep, come
of
out from
Alchemixt.
Alchemist. And I'm actually interested to see where this is going to go. You have to be quite aggressive with there, but the problem with the Freeze Mage is that they will very often be able to control the board quite effectively. So you have to put a lot of pressure at a very fast rate, because the moment Alexstrasza drops on you as a Shaman, you're in a pretty dire spot.
One thing that I think very worth noting in the Shaman deck, particularly in this matchup, no lightning bolts in the Shaman deck. That's something that's been cut.
It's been cut a lot, yeah.
We can see the rock biters. We can see the double zombie chow is going to help get some damage in and get some aggression.
Help get some damage in, but ultimately it's almost a drawback in this circumstance, because once the mage does a single board wipe, he gets back 10 health, which you have to then, sludge through, which is a bit problematic. So Alchemist is running one anti-kill bot. So if he does get Alexstrasza, he'll have the option of healing back up and then perhaps hexing the Alexstrasza that comes out. So he does have a deck that can handle the Alexstrasza pressure, but it's going to be a little tricky because I feel like his deck is more tailored around other playstyles. It's better against mid-range than a full-on control deck like Freeze Mage.
For sure, and he's going to hope to be drawing into his Lotheb a little bit quicker than he was in that last game.
Yep, but he didn't find it last game, which might have made the difference in a few key turns. I mean, the super important play was really the Iron Beak Owl. Either you Iron Beak the Doomsayer or you Iron Beak your own Doomguard to pop the block. And I think he was too afraid of Flame Strike to commit to silencing the Doomsayer.
And we can see the cards they've both got here. Frost Nova, Acolyte of Pain, Blood Mage Thalnos in the hand. Does get the early drops that you didn't perhaps have in his starting hand in the last game. But a decent opening hand for the Shaman as well.
Shaman's opening hand is absolutely gorgeous here. It's got pretty much everything you want, outside of maybe an Earth Shock that you'd like to have for something like an Acolyte of Pain or Mad Scientist that comes out. But other than that, his curve is very aggressive, and that's exactly what you want to do against Freeze Mage's Shaman early on.
Yep, so we see a coined out Haunted Creeper, possibly. He's either going to go for the second Haunted Creeper, or maybe even a Flame Tongue Totem here to put some aggression down, looking at Feral Spirits on turn 3. I mean, turn 3 Feral Spirits, you always feel good as a Shaman when you get to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could have let the Mage player here trade his own Blood Mage away. It's not like the game might not come down to 1 damage exactly, but there are circumstances where the Mage would have anyway traded away the Blood Mage for the card draw. So you might as well just not attack it.
What's the decision making between the second, the Flame Tongue Totem there?
Well, you need to get damage out, but the Flame Tongue Totem you want to use once maybe the spiders are popped, or if you need to kill something like an Acolyte of Pain, like in this exact circumstance. So Alchemist might opt for that instead of something else.
And the Firewall Mantle comes into hand as well in the last couple of turns. It's always slightly difficult when we're watching on spectator mode, seeing the top hand flipped. The cards that are coming off the deck on the right appear in the hand on the left. So you're trying to keep track of what's being top decked.
Yeah, it's actually not on the side that you're used to usually. So, all right. Well, the Mage's hand contains 2 Frost Novas and a Blizzard, which will buy time, definitely when he needs it in the mid game. But the Shaman's got a very aggressive board right now. 6 damage a turn, unwipeable, really, if you think about it, because the spiders just come back up. So at the moment, this is looking pretty good aggression-wise for Alchemist. All right, Xixo's starting to ping off the spiders.
Yeah, he's actually going to leave 1 more damage on the board than when started that turn. And here comes the Feral Spirits.
Yep.
He's going to be absolutely desperate for a board clear here. And even a Blizzard would delay and Frost Nova will delay, but it's not going to be enough to clear. Half this board is going to stay alive to a Blizzard, even though, and we're even on turn 5.
Picking the spiders and Nova in gives him just enough time to get into either another Nova or a Blizzard when needed. Like at the moment, Alchemist's board is completely full. He cannot extend anymore. He's got 7 minions on board, and all he can do is pass the turn.
Oh, that's so frustrating when you end up in that position with too many things on board, but I guess that's what happens when you put out the Haunted Creepers. The Blizzard could well come down here. Do you think the Blizzard is going to come down and clear the spiders, or is he even going to try for the Frost Nova and just delay?
Play a secret. He could put down a secret and Frost Nova, which is not a terrible play in this circumstance, because the Shaman will still be locked on board. So perhaps just playing Mad Scientist with Nova and then developing a secret for free after the Mad Scientist dies. That also lets him kill the Feral Spirit residual, health after the Blizzard's been played. So that's going to give him a lot of board clear possibility, and Alchemist is now worried that he's going to run into Flame Strike, which we know he's not right now, but he's got to be worried.
Yeah, this is such a horrible position. You've almost overcommitted on board, getting yourself into the 7 minions out there. You could well be getting Flame Strike. The Flame Strike doesn't come off the top, but if that had for Xixo, that would have been just heartbreaking for Alchemist. He is
Yes, but
going to go
right
for the Blizzard
now
finally.
he will be getting an Ice Block guarantee since 2 Ice Bearers are in hand. So guaranteed to be getting himself that Ice Block right away. And he's got the other one in hand, so that's going to give him a lot of stalling potential. 2 Ice Barriers, 2 Ice Blocks, that is a lot to go through.
That's a lot of damage that Shaman has to do. And one of the things that is always said about Shaman is Shaman can run out of win conditions very, very quickly. It's not a deck with a huge amount of ability to refuel. If it doesn't get the right draws and doesn't get itself in the right position, it could really be a problem for
Yeah.
the Shaman deck.
Yeah, and we're seeing it right now. At the moment, like he's managed to get himself a really nice hand while his board was completely frozen. So this is going to help quite a bit. But at the moment, the mage does have a lot of lasting potential. He's got Alexstrasza already set up in hand, the Pyroblast, the Archmage with the Ice Lances, just to get himself more fireballs. Antique Healbot going to be a very important card here when Alexstrasza does come down on the Shaman's face.
But one thing to know about the Shaman deck is it does have a lot of big minions. The Fire Elementals, there's one of those in hand. The Black Knight, the Doctor Boom, the Netulon, none of those have come into hand as we're getting up towards the top end of the turns 8, 9, and 10. You'd love to be able to drop Doctor Boom perhaps in this position, but there's just not that opportunity coming in for the Shaman.
Yeah, and Doctor Boom is also very important against Freeze Mage, just because of the fact that it forces the enemy to wipe the board, but they can't because their Ice Block will not trigger.
The Doomsayer is going to be a completely dead card for the Freeze Mage, with both Frost Novas having been used earlier in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And now Antique Healbot is going to come out faster than light. I can promise you that. You will never have seen a faster Antique Healbot being played.
Do you think that Xixo had to use the Aldraza in that position, or was there an alternative play to hold on to that?
There might have been an alternative play, but nothing that would have made maybe more sense than just dropping Alexstrasza, because he can reach for lethal very soon. He's got the Pyroblast, 1 Fireball, but now this Antique Healbot is going to... lot. No... at the moment. Oh!
There's the Flame Strike coming off the top. That's almost definitely got to come down. You can Flame Strike, ping, and clear the board.
Oh, this is a devastating top deck for Alchemist. Oh, and the entire board gets wiped, actually, as a result of this. Ping the Fire Elemental, and the board is gone. And now it's... And
there's not a lot of minions in the hand of Alchemist to refuel. He's got Piloted Shredder and a couple of Zombie Chows. But like we mentioned, he doesn't have... this would be the perfect spot for something like Doctor Boom when you've just seen a Flame Strike and when there's nothing else on board. But
yeah,
Xixo's taking a long time about it, but I can't see him going for any other play here.
I'm just thinking, like, do you let the Shaman pop your Ice Block to play Archmage Antonidas Ice Block afterwards to get a second Fireball? Like, there are ways to do this, but I still think Flame Strike is the optimal one for now. Like, there might have been considerations of just stalling with the first Ice Block and the second one to reach for lethal right away with spells.
There's Netulon.
Is that gonna be really, really helpful here for him? I don't think so.
He's not going to do it. He's going to go for the Pilot Shredder.
Yeah, he needs to pump as much damage as possible in the immediate sense. And Neptulon is it's kind of a long-term card, right? And if it gets frozen for one turn, the opponent goes Archmage Freeze. You've got yourself a 7/7. You're overloaded for 3. You've got no follow-up, and that becomes a bit problematic.
We see the Spirit Wolves and the Pilot Shredder coming down there. So is this an Archmage Antonidas turn?
I'd probably imagine Archmage Antonidas could come down here just with a single Ice Lance, just for the sake of getting a single Fireball, because after that you can just curve your second Ice Block pretty nicely if you wanted to. Alright, but he's going to opt for the card draw to get himself more options and just draw perhaps the Ice Barrier. We'll see.
The
the longer this game goes on, the better of a position the mage is in. Oh, wow, and he just goes face with Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Fireball. That's a lot of damage taken when Pyroblast is going to finish the game on the following turn. Unless something absolutely amazing happens, like a Loatheb. Oh, no. Alchemist has got to feel happy about that top deck. That is one well-timed Loatheb, giving him the ability to survive a Pyroblast that he didn't know was coming, but we know for a fact that it was. And now he's going to pop the Ice Block with the Searing Totem. Wow. This is a really nice position here to be in as Alchemixt. Top decking that Loatheb is going to seal the game, if anything. There is absolutely nothing that Xixo can top deck right now that's going to let him win the game immediately. He has to play the second Ice Block for 8 mana and wait. Unlucky for him, you know, Alchemist does not have any further healing, so it's kind of unfortunate.
Sorry
for
about
Alchemist,
that.
what's up?
I lost the video there for just a second, but I am back now, and as I can see the Loatheb and the 1 health.
Yeah, but it's
Not looking
unfortunate
great.
for him because the second Ice Block was ready to be put in hand. Like, that was the only way for him was to get himself the anti-heal bot after Alex and the Loatheb before Pyroblast. And now the second Ice Block comes up, and Pyroblast will just finish off the Shaman on the following turn.
For sure, and that's going to be a 2-0 victory for Xixo in quick fashion with the Freeze Mage. Maybe not a deck that you'd associate with Xixo, but an old school Freeze Mage deck.
Yep.
And that is going to be it.
That is it, ladies and gentlemen. So Priest Mage takes it against Shaman, which I mean, it's not that unlikely to do so. But the Loatheb and anti-heal bot were definitely good.